Welcome back to the deep dive from the Moore's Global Finance Podcast team. I'm John, and with me as always is Tiffany, our resident expert, to help us break down today's topic.
Always happy to be here.
You're thinking about getting into precious metals, right? Gold, silver, maybe even for retirement.
It's a popular move these days.
It is. And there are tons of companies out there all saying they're the best. But today, we're diving deep into one that's gotten some buzz. PIMBEX. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, they've been popping up on my radar too. They seem to be making a name for themselves with a specific approach.
Exactly. So is PIMBEX the real deal or just another flash in the pan? Let's find out together.
Let's do it.
So Tiffany, first things first. Who is PIMBEX? What's their story?
Well, they're relatively new on the scene, founded in 2020 by two brothers.
Okay, so a family business.
Exactly. And they really lean into that family business feel.
Yeah.
Their whole vibe is about making precious metals accessible and less intimidating, especially for everyday investors.
Interesting. So kind of like the mom and pop shop at precious metals.
In a way, they're based in Irvine, California.
Okay, so that California startup vibe.
Yeah, but they also mention a connection to Texas.
Oh, really? So which is it, California or Texas?
That's a good question. It seems like they're trying to blend those two images, California innovation with Texas trustworthiness.
Strategic combo, for sure.
Mhm.
And how are they positioning themselves in the market?
They're definitely aiming to be the alternative to those big impersonal investment firms. The ones with the fancy offices and the complicated jargon.
Right, the ones that make you feel like you need a PhD in finance just to understand what they're talking about.
Exactly. PMBX is all about honesty, transparency, and low costs. They want you to feel like you're dealing with real people who have your best interests at heart.
That's a compelling message, especially for someone new to precious metals investing. But is it all talk?
That's what we're here to find out. They make some bold claims, like being open and honest and offering safe and affordable options.
Okay, but those are pretty subjective terms, open, compared to what affordable, relative to whom?
Exactly. We need context. And that's something we'll be digging into as we go deeper.
For sure. And they also talk about being genuine and trusted, which immediately makes me think about sourcing.
Good point. Sourcing is crucial in the precious metals world. Where are they getting their gold and silver from? How can we be sure it's authentic?
Exactly. We'll have to investigate that.
Absolutely. Now, another thing they highlight is their private insured delivery.
Okay, so that's peace of mind for the buyer.
Exactly. Especially if you're new to buying physical gold or silver, you don't want that arriving on your doorstep unprotected.
That's true. Plus, they offer free shipping.
Always a bonus. Especially when you're talking about potentially heavy packages.
So if you're looking for simplicity, good value, and that personal touch, PMEX might seem like they're ticking a lot of boxes.
They do make a good first impression. But let's move beyond the marketing and see what they actually offer. They have a pretty impressive range of products. Coins, bars, gold, silver, even platinum.
Wow. So they're not limiting themselves to just the basics.
It seems like they're trying to cater to a wide range of investors with different goals and budgets.
Okay, let's break it down. Starting with gold. What kind of gold products do they offer?
They have those classic popular coins like the American Eagle, the Canadian Maple Leaf, the Austrian Philharmonic.
Ah, the big names. Why are these so popular?
Well, for one, they're highly recognizable and considered very liquid, meaning they're easy to buy and sell.
Okay, that makes sense.
Plus, they appeal to both investors and collectors, which drives up demand. And they each have their own unique history and design features.
Like what, for example?
We'll take the Canadian Maple Leaf. It's known for its purity, 0.99999 fine gold.
Wow, so almost pure gold.
Exactly. And that appeals to people who are really focused on quality and value.
I can see that. It's like holding a little piece of history in your hand.
Exactly. But they don't just stop at coins. They also offer larger gold bars like the Pampi Fortuna and Valcambi.
Okay, so what's the strategy there? Why offer both coins and bars?
Those bars are more geared towards serious investors who are looking at long-term holding.
I see. So less about the collectible aspect and more about acquiring a significant amount of gold in a single secure asset.
Precisely. It's a different approach altogether.
So they're catering to both ends of the spectrum. The dipping my toes in investor and the going all in type.
Exactly. They're trying to be a one-stop shop for all your gold needs.
Clever. What about silver? Do they follow a similar approach?
They do. They have the American Eagle, of course, but they also have the Australian Kangaroo.
The kangaroo, I've heard of that one. What's special about it?
It's actually even purer than the Maple Leaf, 0.99999 fine silver.
Wow, that's impressive. Silver seems to be gaining in popularity too, especially as a more affordable entry point into precious metals.
You're right. It's often seen as a more accessible way to diversify your portfolio.
Okay, so we've covered gold and silver. Now what about platinum? They offer that too, which is interesting because it's not as widely discussed.
It's definitely less mainstream, but that could be part of the appeal for some investors.
Like a hidden gem.
Perhaps. They seem to be sticking with those recognizable options like the American Eagle and Canadian Maple Leaf for their platinum offerings.
Okay, so consistency across the board.
Or maybe they're playing it safe.
Yeah.
It's hard to say for sure, but it does make you wonder what their overall strategy is with platinum.
Right. Are they trying to cater to a niche market of platinum enthusiasts?
Yeah.
Or are they seeing something in the platinum market that we're not?
That's a great question. And it also makes you wonder how often they update their offerings and if they're staying on top of emerging trends in the precious metals world.
Because staying relevant is key in any market, but especially one as dynamic as this.
Absolutely. And speaking of staying relevant, they offer more than just the metals themselves. They have a range of services that go beyond simply buying and selling.
Oh, really? This is getting interesting. Let's dive into those next.
So one service that really caught my eye is their Gram Club. It's like a subscription box, but for precious metals.
Okay, now that's something I haven't heard of before. Tell me more about this Gram Club. How does it work?
It's pretty simple, actually. You choose a monthly plan. There's a $125 option and a $250 option.
Okay.
And each month, PMBX sends you a selection of gold and silver directly to you.
So you're basically on autopilot. Just sit back and watch your precious metals portfolio grow.
Exactly. They handle all the details, sourcing, packaging, shipping. You just choose your plan, and they take care of the rest.
That's pretty convenient, especially for someone who's busy or maybe a little intimidated by the idea of buying bullion directly.
It definitely simplifies the process, and it promotes consistent investing, which is something we always talk about.
We do, but what about flexibility? What if you change your mind or need to access your funds?
That's where it gets interesting. There are no fees to join or cancel the Gram Club.
Really? So you're not locked into anything?
Nope, you have complete control. You can start, shop, or adjust your plan whenever you want.
So it's low risk, easy to manage, and promotes consistent investing in precious metals. That's a pretty compelling proposition.
It is. But let's look at the other side of the coin. What if you want to sell some of your holdings? Can you sell back to PIMBX?
That's a good question.
They do have a Sell to Us program, but it's a bit more involved than the Gram Club.
How so?
Well, for starters, there's a $1,000 minimum.
Okay, so not for the casual seller.
Right. And they're mainly interested in buying back bullion, investment-grade gold and silver.
So no family heirlooms.
Not unless they're made of pure gold or silver.
Got it. And what's the process like for selling to them?
It involves a few steps. You create an account, submit a, quote, request with photos of the items you want to sell.
Okay.
They'll give you an estimate, and if you agree, you ship the items to them, they'll verify everything, and then issue you a check within 1 to 2 business days.
So not as instant as some other online transaction.
Right. It's definitely something to consider if you're someone who values speed and efficiency.
Good point. Now, remember how we talked about PMBX emphasizing open and honest?
Yeah.
Well, it seems like that extends to their educational resources, too.
Yeah.
They have a whole knowledge center with a bullion newsletter and a bunch of FAQs.
That's a good sign, especially for someone who wants to understand the why behind their investments, not just blindly follow the crowd.
But the key question is, are these resources actually valuable?
Right. Is the content in-depth and informative? Is it regularly updated, or is it just surface-level stuff designed to make them look good?
We'll have to take a closer look and see if they're truly walking the walk when it comes to education.
Absolutely. Because knowledge is power, especially in the world of investing.
Couldn't agree more. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about retirement. A lot of people are looking to add precious metals to their retirement portfolio. Does PMBX cater to that?
They do. They offer gold IRA options.
Okay, but are they managing those IRAs themselves?
That's where it gets a little tricky. They actually work with partners for this service. It's not their in-house expertise.
So it's kind of like outsourcing a key part of the process.
Yeah, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does raise some questions. How do they choose their partners? What are their selection criteria?
Transparency is essential here.
Absolutely. And they advertise a low minimum to start a gold IRA.
But low is relative.
Yeah.
What's the actual number? And are there any hidden fees?
Those are all important questions to ask.
They also emphasize the choice of storage location. Why do you think that's important for someone considering a gold IRA?
Well, for one, it's about control. You're entrusting a significant portion of your retirement savings to someone else. So knowing where and how your precious metals are being stored provides peace of mind.
Makes sense.
It's also about security. Are those storage facilities reputable? Are they insured? These are valid concerns.
Definitely. And they touch upon the difference between traditional and Roth IRAs, which can be a complex topic for some investors.
You're right. It's essential for people to understand the tax implications of each option.
So hopefully PIMBEX and their partners are providing clear and personalized guidance on that front.
Because a generic one-size-fits-all explanation just won't cut it when it comes to retirement planning.
Agreed. So we've covered the products, the services, the retirement options. Now let's get down to the nuts and bolts of actually doing business with PIMBEX. How smooth is the buying experience?
Well, from what I've seen on their website, their buying process seems pretty standard, Create an account, browse at the products, add to cart, the usual e-commerce flow.
Yeah, it seems very user-friendly, but they do make a point of highlighting discreet packaging and insured shipping within 48 hours.
Okay, that makes sense. It's all about reassurance, especially for first-time buyers.
Exactly. They want you to feel confident and secure throughout the entire process. They also mention phone assistance for larger orders.
Interesting. So they're catering to the high rollers.
Maybe, or it could just be a way to provide more personalized service for those bigger transactions.
Yeah.
It's hard to say for sure without more information.
True. So buying seems pretty straightforward. What about selling? Is it as seamless? They direct you back to that Sell to Us section for terms and rates, but it does make you wonder how often those are updated.
Right, because precious metal prices are constantly fluctuating.
Exactly. So you want to make sure you're getting a fair price if you decide to sell. And speaking of fairness, what about fees? Everyone hates hidden fees.
Tell me about it. So what's the deal with PIBX's fee structure?
They're pretty upfront about it. For orders under $500, there's a $10 delivery fee.
Okay, that seems reasonable.
And the Graham Club, as we discussed, has those fixed monthly costs of $125 or $250.
Right.
But they're clear about no extra fees for joining or leaving the Graham Club.
So no surprises there. What about payment options? Do they offer flexibility?
They do. They have ACH payments through Plaid with a 6% discount.
Wow, that's significant.
Bank wire transfers also get a 6% discount, but have higher minimums.
I see. And of course, there's the good old credit or debit card option.
Right, but no discount for that one.
So they're definitely incentivizing certain payment methods.
It seems that way. Whether it's to streamline their processes, reduce transaction costs, or something else entirely, it's worth considering as a potential customer.
For sure. Now, for the moment of truth, what are people saying about PIMBEX? What's their reputation like out there in the wild?
Well, we did some digging, and the reviews are generally positive.
Because that's good.
But the sample size is relatively small. We're talking about a handful of reviews, not hundreds or thousands.
So encouraging, but not conclusive.
Right. It's a good start, but we'd need more data to get a truly comprehensive picture.
What are some of the highlights from the positive reviews?
People seem to appreciate their fair pricing, their great customer service, their fast shipping, and the quality of their products.
So they're hitting all the key points.
It seems that way.
Mm-hmm.
And they also mentioned the founder's involvement in ensuring customer satisfaction.
So that personal touch really comes through.
Exactly. It reinforces that family business feel that they're going for.
But there was that one negative review mentioning slow shipping and refunds. Did anything else stand out to you?
Not really. It seemed like an isolated incident, but again, with a limited sample size, it's hard to say for sure.
So more data would be helpful.
Definitely. It would give us a more well-rounded perspective.
Okay, so let's wrap this up, Tiffany. What's your overall take on PIMBEX? What are the key takeaways for our listeners?
They've definitely carved out a niche for themselves. They're appealing to investors who value simplicity, transparency, and a more personal approach.
Right.
There are some caveats. Their website could be more detailed, especially when it comes to sourcing fees and their gold IRA offerings. And their focus on gold and silver might limit diversification for some investors.
Right. And their track record, while positive, is still relatively new.
Exactly. So the big question is, are they the right fit for you?
And how can our listeners answer that question for themselves?
Do your research, dig deeper, compare their offerings to competitors, and most importantly, make sure they align with your individual goals and risk tolerance.
Sound advice. Yeah. As always, Tiffany. So to sum it all up, PIBX presents a potentially attractive option for certain investors. But remember, due diligence is essential. Never invest in anything you don't fully understand, and always stay curious, keep learning, and happy investing.